Good afternoon and a very warm welcome indeed to Varna and this World Challenge Cup. 2 exciting days of competition to come. We have 5 finals today, beginning with the men's floor. And this is going to be a very special weekend of gymnastics indeed. This is the 3rd of the World Challenge Cup series events this year, not even at its halfway stage. These events will run until October, and this of course is number 3. And while the Olympic qualification spots might have been decided, there are still plenty of high caliber gymnasts in action here over the next couple of days. This Games of course will serve as a bit of a dress rehearsal for the Paris Games. We have many Paris-bound Olympians in action over the next 2 days. We have 10 finals in all, 5 today and 5 tomorrow, so plenty to look forward to. And as well as those athletes who've already sealed their spots in Paris, we have athletes who are ones to keep an eye out for in the future. And of course, as ever, it is wonderful to see the youngsters in the crowd who perhaps will be inspired by what they see here today. They could be the gymnasts of the future. So plenty of big names to look out for today. Beginning with the men's floor, which is going to be a very high caliber final indeed. 5 finals, 8 athletes in each. Plenty of established names to look out for, as well as those gymnasts who are looking to make their mark. And of course, we talk about the Paris Games, which are just a couple of months away now, coming around quickly. But Los Angeles 2028 is also going to come around quickly. And we'll be looking at athletes this weekend who we'll be sure to be seeing in LA in 4 years' time. Well, there is your start list for the men's final. That kicks us off today. Demendorj of Mongolia will be looking to make history. He's one of 2 Mongolians here this weekend, and no Mongolian artistic gymnast has ever won a World or a World Challenge Cup medal. Could that be about to change today? Well, the women's vault will be the 2nd event on the cards for us, and that is how they line up. Lots of familiar names indeed. Valentina Georgieva, of course, competing at her home event. She has had success on the vault at World Cup level already this year. Tatiana Corrent, of course, a familiar name on the start list. And after the women's vault, we turn our attention then to the men's pommel horse. Well, these athletes have come through a couple of days of grueling qualification to earn their name in the top 8, and those are the best 8 from qualification. Artur Davtyan, of course, number 2 on that list, and how many times do we see his name on a final start list? The penultimate event of the day will be the women's parallel bars. Standout name there, Elisabeth Seitz, the German, who we saw in action in the Tokyo Olympics. Rose Wu is a national team standout for Canada. So some really big names across all of these finals. And then our last event of the day will be the men's still rings. That's where we will end the day's action. Oleg Verniev is the name that stands out there, or one of them anyway. European team champion. He is a very familiar fixture as well in these finals and a real standout on the men's rings. The crowd eagerly awaiting the action to begin, and it will be getting underway very shortly indeed. Men's floor due off in around about 5 minutes' time. Coming up to 2 p.m. local time. Judges are ready. Varna in Bulgaria. Wonderful setting for the weekend's action. Third largest city in the country, and it's a lovely seaside town, lovely seaside resort. So perhaps for those who've travelled here to see the action over the weekend, they'll be able to make something of a holiday of it as well. Well, the stage is set. Earlier today on that floor, of course, we'll be seeing these athletes competing, but we also had some traditional dancers rehearsing their routine on the floor as well, so perhaps that's a flavour as to what is to come. Not only will the crowd be entertained by the sport that they see, but they'll also get some local flavour as well. Of course, with the Olympics just around the corner, the qualification places have been decided at World Cups earlier in the year, but this will be a chance for gymnasts to really impress their national selectors. And of course, for those gymnasts who will be on that plane to Paris, this is an opportunity for them to maintain their fitness, to continue to compete, get the feel for competition as well. Because training is one thing, but there is nothing quite like competition. Well, those kids won't be glued to their phones for much longer. Once the action starts, I'm sure they will be fully focused on what they're about to see unfolding in the arena in front of them. Well, we will be underway in just a couple of moments' time. The 8 best men's floor qualifiers will be led out into the arena. Of course, we'll be looking for strength, flexibility, balance. It's always a great way to start the day's action with the floor. Right in the centre there of the arena, all the focus will be there.
Dando postulato per vicino a te che si tratta di un posto secondo un po' di sport ginnastica provvedendo già nel territorio della Varna Bulgaria.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third competition day of the 8th FIG World Challenge Cup held in Varna, Bulgaria. Today we will watch the athletes fighting for the medals on floor exercise, pommel horse and rings for men, and both and uneven bars for women.
Днешното наблюдаване се състои да почне с призовно класиране на земна гимнастика, конкуренти за мъже и предстои смесена спорта за жени. И днес можем, уважаемата публика, нека с бурни аплодисменти подкрепим нашите сънародници Димитър Димитров, финалист на земна гимнастика, и Валентина Георгиева, финалист на престол. Нека ни подкрепим с бурни овации.
Well, the crowd ready. Gymnasts will shortly be led out for the first of our 5 finals. It will be Tuvshin Damdindorj of Mongolia who leads the way. He will be going first. And here they come, the 8 best from qualification. These are the 8 men's floor finalists. Bulgaria, the home nation, are represented in this one. Dimitar Dimitrov will be fourth to go for the home nation. It will be Damdin Dorsh who kicks us off, and my goodness, could you imagine if Mongolia were to get a medal at this event, the first ever artistic gymnastics medal for that country.
Representing Kazakhstan, Hasan Sarimo. Representing Hungary, Bogdan Molnar. Representing Bulgaria, Dimitar Dimitrov. Representing Finland, Emil Ovalin. Representing Kazakhstan, Dmitry Patanin. Representing Italy, Lorenzo Bonicelli. And representing France, Nicolas Diaz. 2 minutes forward for the first 4 athletes.
Well, that concludes the introductions. So athletes will have a brief warm-up before we get underway. As I said, it will be Damdin Dorsh who kicks us off. Well, it can't be easy being the first athlete to open the competition, but of course the advantage there is that once you've done your routine, you've done the best you can, and all you can then do is just sit back and enjoy the rest of the action. For those athletes who are going later on in the competition, of course they know what the standard is. They know the mark they need to beat. Damdin Dorsh will be the standard setter when he gets us underway. He's never actually made a final of a World Cup or a World Challenge Cup, so this is certainly the best ever performance for the Mongolian. There are 140 plus gymnasts competing here. So this event will be as competitive as ever. Arena starting to fill up now. Christopher Nazarov of Hungary, who qualified with the highest score, 14.950. So that was the standard set in qualification.
Walk is over, good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Mongolia, and pushing Damdin Dorsh.
Damdin Dorsh finished fourth in qualifying. He scored 14.05. Well, he looked as though he was looking to the camera there as he was chalking up his hands and feet. Perhaps he was enjoying the attention. He looks composed, focused and ready. Wonderful tumbling pass to begin this floor routine. landing not quite as tidy as his first. That is a shame. That will eat away at his execution score. He seems to have recovered well from that earlier landing in which he went out of bounds. Of course, that will elicit a deduction of 0.1 points for the 1 foot out of the arena. Well, a mixed performance from the Mongolian. He'll be disappointed with that landing on his third tumbling pass. He started really well. 4th in qualification, but you suspect that he will be marked down on his execution there. That routine has a difficulty rating of 5.6, so 4.05 was his qualification score. Seems as though he's could be suggesting there that this is Dmitry Patinin of Kazakhstan also getting his feet all chalked up. He won't want a slip up like Damdindorj just there in the opening floor routine. It was this third tumbling pass where he just went out of bounds, didn't quite control the landing. It is an anxious wait for the judges to produce their scores. Well, that is disappointing indeed for Damdindorj, who will be ruing.
Representing Kazakhstan,
He ended up on his backside and with both feet out of bounds. Disappointing for the Mongolian. Hasan Salimov. He has won medals at World Challenge Cup level. Took gold on the vault at Antalya earlier this year. So a useful performer on a number of different apparatus. He finished 6th in qualification. This routine is worth a 5.8 in terms of difficulty, but you suspect that his execution scores will be high. Slight hop forward there, but otherwise his landings have been pretty decent. Generated some real power there, didn't he? But despite that, really kept the graceful elements as well of the routine, and I think that he will be pretty pleased with that performance. Well, Salimov, of course, knows what it takes to win medals at this level. That was a solid performance, big step forward on landing at that point, but generally pretty consistent. Will he improve on the 13.750 that he achieved in qualification? Really maintained his form well throughout the air there. Chest high, the legs close together. Well, he is down on his qualification score.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Hungary, Varna.
It's not been a particularly high scoring final so far. Okay, we've only had 2 gymnasts go, but perhaps we'll see the best scores coming a little later on. This is Botond Molnar of Hungary. Took silver in this event last year. Sixth best in qualification, 13.750, the same as Salimov. Stuck his landing on that one, didn't he? Beautiful form in the air. And a big smile to finish off. Certainly looks pleased with that one. I'm sure he's hopeful of getting to the top of the podium as things stand. Little nod of the head. He looks confident. Of course, he is only the 3rd gymnast to go, but certainly the one who's looked the most confident after making his way off the floor. Last year's silver medalist. How much would he love to repeat that feat? Get back on that podium. Well, this is worth a 5.8 in terms of difficulty. Which is the 3rd most difficult routine of the floor finalists. This from Nazarov of Hungary with a 6.3. That's the most difficult. Now 13.533 is the score he needs to beat. Not quite, just falling short.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, representing Bulgaria,
disappointed with that. He's down on his qualification score and he came off the floor looking really pleased indeed. Dimitrov, the home hope. Finished 9th in qualification, so sneaks in as a reserve. Oh, the foot out of bounds will elicit a deduction on the execution. It's a very different style of gymnast to the 3 we've seen already. Generating some real power in these tumbles. The others have all been a bit lighter and more graceful. He was going for the big tumbling pass to end the routine, failed to control the landing, the chest just too far down. Loses balance and he hangs his head. Looks disappointed with the way he's finished that routine, and of course he did have that 1 foot out of bounds a little earlier on in one of the earlier tumbling passes. There we go, that's a deduction of 0.1 points. Not really getting the same height as some of the other gymnasts. He scored 13.7 in qualifying. It doesn't even look as though he's hanging around to see what he gets in this final. Well, that is the midway point of our first final of the day. 4 competitors have been and gone on the floor. We just await Dimitrov's score, but it is 13.533. That is the highest one so far. That is the one to beat at this midway stage. That was Molnar Botund. .766. That is disappointing for Dimitrov. That step out of bounds and then the loss of balance on his final landing costing him in terms of his execution score, well down on the score he achieved in qualification. So at the midway stage it is Molnar Botund who leads. Finland's Emil Voivolin gets us back underway. He finished qualification in 8th place. This routine is worth a 4.9 in terms of difficulty, so on the lower end of the difficulty scale, but if he can make up those points in execution, he could be in with a chance. It's all going so well up until that stumble backwards for the Finn. You suspected that he was really racking up those execution points because he was sticking his landings. Just let down at the very final moment there. 12.9 is enough to get him into third position as things stand, scoring well on the execution with an 8.
Representing Kazakhstan, Dmitry Potanin.
And he has bettered his qualification score. My apologies, he hasn't bettered his qualification score. His qualification score was 13.7. It's not been the highest of scoring finals thus far. Dmitry Potanin must be sensing that there is an opportunity here for him. In qualifying, the second best behind Mazaros of Hungary. This routine is worth a 5.9 in terms of difficulty, the second most difficult that we will see in this final. Absolutely stuck that landing, didn't he? A solid, confident, assured performance from Dmitry Potanin. One of two Kazakhstani athletes in this final. 13.533 is the score he needs to beat to get on top of the podium as things stand. I suspect that he's given himself a very decent chance of doing so. Really solid on landing. .033, he leaps to the top of the standings.
Representing Italy, Lorenzo Bonicelli.
Lorenzo Bonicelli is our penultimate athlete to go. He finished qualification in 5th place with a 13.9. This is a 5.6 on the difficulty level. Lovely, stuck the landing as well. Wonderful form in the air. Lorenzo Bonicelli with a double high five for the coach, and you suspect that that will be enough to get him onto the podium as things stand. Potanin at the minute is head and shoulders above the rest. But Bonicelli, a 5.6 difficulty, you suspect will have scored pretty well in his execution as well. A couple of slight steps forward, but otherwise it was another assured performance. just sneaks onto the podium ahead of Botond. That is enough for third place, but there is still one more gymnast to go. None of these athletes scoring as high as they did in qualification. Nicola Diaz. The final athlete takes to the floor, the third best in qualifying. 5.8 for difficulty in this routine. Got 14.1 in qualification, but it has been a much lower scoring final. Let's see if Diaz can buck that trend. That was certainly a crowd pleaser, wasn't it? The Frenchman looks confident as he exits the floor. Of course, with the withdrawal of Chris from Irish, the highest in qualification, the final opens up somewhat. .66, Nicola Diaz. Leapfrogs Bonicelli of Italy. Gets himself onto that podium. Of course, France will be very much looking forward to the Olympic Games this summer, their home games, and they'll be sending an incredibly strong team. Well, it was a funny old floor final. Dimitri Patanin with a 14.033. The highest scorer, significantly down on his qualification. That concludes the first of our 5 finals for the day. Turn our attention next to the women with the vault competition, which is sure to be a very high quality one indeed. We have Tatiana Corrent back to defend the vault title she won here last year. That is coming up very shortly indeed. So the final ranking for the vault competition, Dimitri Patanin with a 14.03 takes the gold ahead of Nicola Diaz, who takes the silver. Hassan Selimov makes up the podium with the bronze medal, so a pretty good start for Kazakhstan with 2 out of the 3 medals on offer so far. So confirmation once again of the final scores on the men's floor exercise. Kazakhstan with the gold and bronze, and France with the silver in between. Diaz with the tricolour in hand. I'm sure he will enjoy holding that aloft when he steps onto the podium. We'll be having the award ceremony shortly for the opening final rather, before we turn our attention to the women's vault final. Women's vault will get underway in around about 10 minutes' time. Athletes, the men's floor finalists, will be rewarded for their hard work. The podium is set, and we will shortly be getting the award ceremony for the men's floor exercise underway. Kazakhstan with the 2 out of 3 medals so far, with the Frenchman Nicolas Diaz collecting the silver in between. Looks as though they are ready to come out and receive their rewards. Dmitry Patinin, the gold medalist. Familiar name across the start lists on these World Challenge Cup and World Cup events. Dmitry Patinin has already got a number of medals to his name this year. He got bronze at the World Cup in Doha earlier this year. That was on the floor. Didn't even qualify in Baku for the final. Nor in Cottbus. In Cairo, he did qualify for the floor final, but just missed out on a medal, finishing in 4th. So certainly a very positive result indeed for the improved Dmitry Patinin. Again, last year in Cottbus, just missed out on a floor medal, finishing in 5th in that final. So he's always been around and about, but not only this time has he managed to get a medal, he's managed to get onto the top of the podium. The last time he was on top of the podium was back in 2022 in Mersin in Turkey at the World Challenge Cup event there. He finished first in qualification and maintained that to finish first in the final. Well, it's unclear what the slight delay is here ahead of the awards ceremony. But here come the medals. The gymnasts are ready, so hopefully we'll get going soon, and then we can turn our attention to the second final of the day, which is, of course, the women's vault.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions of the floor exercise.
And finally, here come the medalists, the 2 Kazakhstani athletes, as well as the Frenchman, stepping back out into the arena to claim their prizes.
Third place and bronze medal representing Kazakhstan, Hasan Salimov.
Hasan Salimov collects bronze for the floor. He's got medals at this level before.
Second place and silver medal.
Most recently on the vault in Antalya earlier this year. Frenchman Nicolas Diaz, big smile as he steps up to claim the silver.
Third place and bronze medal representing Kazakhstan, Dmitry Patinin.
But the only gymnast to have scored a 14, Dmitry Patinin, justly rewarded with the gold medal.
Third place awards go to Varna and Varna.
Трето място награждава областния управител на град Варна Андриана Андреева.
Second place awards Minister of Youth and Sport Георги Гушков.
Второ място награждава министъра на младежта и спорта Георги Глушков.
First place awards Mayor of City Varna Владимир Коцев.
Първо място награждава кмета на град Варна Владимир Коцев.
Well, big smiles for the cameras. Congratulations to all 3 medalists. Congratulations indeed to all 8 finalists, an achievement in itself. Well, let's head across now to the women's vault, the second final of the day. Gymnasts will shortly be introduced to this crowd.
Huge applause for the champion and march out.
Absolutely. Huge applause indeed for the 3 medalists of the men's floor competition. Well, the women's vault will be next, as I said. It will be Tatjana Korent of Croatia, the vault specialist who leads out the gymnasts when they enter this arena. Start list then for the second final of the day, the women's vault. The Croatian vault specialist Tatjana Korent, who turned 38, or 35, sorry, I'm adding age onto her. She turned 35 last month. The evergreen Korent will get this final underway. How many times have we seen her spearheading the final for the vault tournament? Well, here come the gymnasts.
Croatia, representing Mexico, Alexa Moreno. Representing Lithuania, Katarina Jurevica. Representing Germany, Karina Schoenmeier. Representing Bulgaria, Valentina Georgieva. Representing Azerbaijan, Nazanin Tumirova. Representing Poland, Martina Sumina. Representing Czech Republic, Dominika Pondosiva. 2 minutes warm for the first 4 athletes.
Well, as ever, the first 4 athletes will warm up and then get the competition underway. Bulgaria, of course, represented in this one as well. Valentina Georgieva. She will be 5th to go. But it is Diana Current who will kick things off. In terms of the way the qualification panned out for this one, it was in fact Valentina Georgieva who led the standings in qualifying, and can you imagine how much this crowd would enjoy seeing one of their own take the medal in this. But here is Current, the vault specialist, finished 4th in qualifying. So the first 4 to go will be Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria. Karina Schoenmeier will be next, sorry, in qualification. I am mistaken, I apologise. It'll be Tatiana Current followed by Alexa Moreno. Not Schoenmeier, she will be 4th to go. Current certainly is an interesting athlete. She's been on the scene for a very long time, as I said, turned 35 last month, and in 2013 she became the first Croatian female gymnast to qualify for an event at the European Championship. So she certainly is an inspiration for gymnasts from her home country. It was her mother who put her into gymnastics classes. She also has a degree in sports management. Current, defending champion, took the gold in Varna last year. Greta Meyer of Hungary took silver. She's not appearing in this final. Bengisu Yildiz made up the podium, but she's not here either, so we will have different medalists in the silver and bronze positions. Of course, these athletes will already have warmed up behind the scenes, as it were. Of course, there are very subtle differences between the apparatus. Behind the scenes will not be quite the same as getting a feel for the actual competition vault in front of the crowd, so it's vital that they get the chance to get a feel for that before the competition starts. Karina Schoenmeier of Germany.
Warm-up is over, good luck.
That's a rather ominous sounding bell to signify the end of the warm-up. Diana Korent of Croatia. First up, gold medalist in this event last year. Fourth in qualification with a 13.05. She has 4 World Challenge Cup medals to her name, in all 3 colours. All of those medals have come on vault. She is a specialist on this apparatus.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Croatia, Diana Korent, second vault.
Nailed the landing. Diana Korent congratulated by the coach. Of course, she'd love back-to-back golds in this event. As I said earlier, it's difficult to go first because you don't know what you need to do. You haven't seen the rest of the competition. Legs slightly apart in the air, but stuck the landing. It's nicely done from Korent. Well, the first vault, 12.8 with a difficulty level of 4. We eagerly await the result. Next to go, Mexico's Alexa Moreno. Well, that is slightly down on her qualification score, the 12.950. Korent got 13.05 in qualifying. Moreno finished above her in the qualification standings in third with a 13.725. Another vault specialist. She's a Pan-American champion on this apparatus. She's featured at 2 Olympic Games as well. She actually announced her retirement after the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, after she finished 4th on the vault by less than 1/10 of a point, just missing out on that bronze, agonising that point, perhaps she decided she'd had enough. Decided to step away from the sport. But then announced a return to training last March. She then went on to earn the gold on the vault at the Pan American Championships, so certainly it was worth her while coming back.
Representing Mexico, second vault.
Well, she generates real speed and power, doesn't she? It's always fascinating to look at an athlete's initial reactions after they've come off the apparatus. See if you can get a read of their emotions from their face. Some athletes, of course, are very expressive, others completely impossible to read. She didn't look too happy, though, Moreno. Well, Corrent set the standard with a 12.950. Moreno, of course, will be hopeful of bettering that. There's not a lot she hasn't won in terms of vault medals. Of course, the 2020 Olympic one will be something that she thinks of often, that she is missing from the collection. $13.749. Just slightly off centre there for Jurevica. You could see in the air she was veering off to her right hand side, didn't quite have the balance that she needed. I think it started to go wrong in the run up, really. She didn't approach the vault dead on centre. You could see sort of a veer off to the right, and then that momentum continued in the air and almost took her off the mat. Well, Jurevica, the Latvian, got through qualification in 8th place with a 12.8.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Lithuania, second vault.
Oh, well, she will be disappointed with that. Jurevica failing to control the landing. Just 16 years of age, though. She can't be too hard on herself. She's still very much learning and will be an athlete to look out for in the future. Far too much momentum on that one, carrying her forwards and forwards and forwards. But this is valuable experience for the youngster. To even reach a final at the age of 16 is an incredible achievement. It's the first final she's reached this year at this level, so certainly she is a gymnast on the up, Jurevika. So 12.766 for the first.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Germany, Karina Schoenmeier.
Schoenmeier is just one of two Germans appearing in the finals today. Her teammate Elizabeth Seitz will be competing later on in the bars. Just the two German athletes have made it through to the final 8 across the 5 finals today. Big step on landing for Schoenmeier, the 18-year-old. She did very well in qualification, finishing in second with a 13.9. The execution certainly suffering there, though, in that one. She is making her debut at a World Challenge Cup as well. It's a pretty special achievement to be in the final 8.
Representing Germany, Karina Schoenmeier, second vault.
Well, the landing on the second, much more controlled than the first. Schoenmeier second in qualification. Can she get on that podium in the final, though? Let's just take another look. She had great height off the top of the table. Well, some German fans in the arena will of course be cheering on Schoenmeier. Well, she says her ambition is to compete at Olympic Games, and of course these youngsters that we are seeing here this weekend, although they might not be heading to Paris, they'll certainly be thinking about Los Angeles in 4 years' time. 13.783 takes her to the top of the standings, just edging Moreno. Slightly down on her qualification, but not by much. We have reached the halfway stage of the vault now. The next 4 athletes, of course, as ever, warm up, get a feel for the apparatus. And 4 more exciting gymnasts still to come. Attention, of course, will be on Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria. Nanazine Temurova, of course, still to compete, the Azerbaijani gymnast who finished 4th in this event last year. Can she sneak onto the podium? Can she go on better than she did last year?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Valentina Georgieva, the big home hope. Best in qualifying, 13.975, just edging Schoenmeier. A huge height off the top of the table, and just listen to the cheers around the arena. Still just 17 years of age. Junior European silver medalist on this apparatus. She's actually missed almost 2 years of competition after getting injured at the European Championships in Munich in 2022. She returned to competition earlier this year and qualified for the Paris Games. That's just a marker of the talent that this young gymnast possesses. She took silver on vault at the European Championships in Rimini just a couple of weeks ago. So she is certainly very much in form at the minute. Placed second on the vault in Cairo earlier this year at her return to competition. Second in Cottbus too. Gold in Baku. Will there be another medal in Varna?
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Bulgaria, Valentina Georgieva, second vault.
Another wonderful vault from Valia Georgieva, who celebrates with a pump of the fist. The Bulgarian flag held aloft, the noise level increasing in the arena as she was on the run-up. And surely she will be on that podium. Two very good vaults indeed. Great amplitude off the table. Nice twisting form, and just look at the celebration. .083. That is the highest score so far. Valentina Georgieva leads the vault standings with 3 more gymnasts still to go. She has bettered her qualification score of 13.975. And has seen Timurova next. 4th in this event last year. Timurova of Azerbaijan, still just 16 years of age as well. Another athlete with a very bright future ahead of her. She finished 7th in qualifying with a 12.9. She reached the vault final in Doha at the World Cup. Didn't reach the final in Baku. graceful shape throughout the air from Timurova. Really held her form. Toes nicely pointed, legs tightly together. It was a very elegant vault indeed, real speed up the runway, power off the top of the table, nice form in the air, and she stuck the landing. Perhaps she didn't have the amplitude off the table that perhaps she would have liked, but nevertheless it was a decent effort from the Azerbaijani. 12.683. Well, it has been a high-scoring final so far, and that is not enough for Timurova to get onto the podium. Slightly down on her qualifying score. Slight disappointment then, but nevertheless she has made a final. She's still very, very young, so the second final of the year is still a big achievement. Martina Sumna of Poland is next up, the penultimate athlete, sixth in qualifying with a 12.925. 19 would be absolutely off the scale. Years of age from Krakow. Oh, she seems to be asking, what's happening? Do I go?
Representing Poland, Martina Sumna.
Well, the slight loss of form in the air. Legs coming ever so slightly apart.
Representing Poland, Martina Sumna, second vault.
Oh, nicely done indeed. Great speed and power, and a very good landing as well. 12.7 for Martina Zumner. Down on her qualification score of 12.95. Last to go. Dominika Ponizilova of the Czech Republic, 5th in qualifying. She is one of the older gymnasts in this final, 22 years of age. Started doing gymnastics pretty much as soon as she could walk. I've not seen her at a World Cup or a World Challenge Cup since Baku last year. Last time we saw her at World Challenge Cup level was 2 years ago in Slovenia. Reached the vault final then, finished in 7th. Well, she will be pleased with the score for the first vault of 13.133. It's very much up on her qualification. Two-time World Cup medalist, World University Games medalist. Last but not least, it is the Czech athlete who rounds out the vault final for us. And the score to beat, Valentina Georgieva with a 14.085. A different class, really. Alexis Moreno and Diana Corrent sharing a joke. It's lovely to see that camaraderie between the competitors. .933. Just down on the 13 that she scored in qualification. But that means that it is Valentina Georgieva who takes the gold in this bronze final. But it was never in any doubt, was it? We await the confirmation of the results, but it will be gold for Bulgaria. Very, very close indeed for silver and bronze. Schoenmeier and Moreno making up the podium, but separated by the finest of margins. We await, of course, the judges to make it official. A very high quality vault final indeed. There's the confirmations of the standings for the women's vault final. Valentina Georgieva, head and shoulders above the others, takes the gold for Bulgaria. Karina Schoenmeier of Germany with the silver, and it's Alexa Moreno with another medal, the Mexican taking bronze. Plenty more action still to come, of course. We have 5 finals over the course of the day. First up will be the award ceremony for the vault final that we've just seen, and then we'll turn our attention back to the men's competition and the pommel horse final. We then move back to the women and the uneven bars, and then the men's still rings will round out the day's action First of 2 days of finals here in Varna. And we do it all over again tomorrow, 5 finals again, so an action-packed weekend of gymnastics. This busy summer of sport with the Olympic Games just around the corner, of course. And many of the athletes that we are seeing this weekend will be competing in Paris, so this is a great chance to see them in their dress rehearsal, as it were. So once again, the podium is set, and we will soon welcome back the gymnasts, the medalists. Tiana Corrent, last year's champion, unable to make it onto the podium, and we have 3 brand new medalists.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions of vault for women.
Well, here come the vault medalists. Alexis Moreno leading the way. Yet another medal to add to her vast vaulting collection. The home gymnast, Georgieva, in the middle there. Huge future ahead of her, such a powerhouse on the vault. And Schönmeier, the youngster from Germany as well. 3 really exciting gymnasts, 3 exceptionally good vaulters. Moreno with a ton of experience. She takes the bronze. 13.749 was her result. Schönmeier with a 13.783. It was ever so close between silver and bronze. And Valentina Georgieva takes the gold for Bulgaria, the only gymnast to score in the 14s. 14.085. Best in qualifying. And she takes the final 2.
Second place awards Deputy Mayor of City of Varna. And first place awards President of Bulgarian Federation of Artistic Gymnastics, Vice President, Olympic Champion, Krasimir Dunev.
rousing and dramatic anthem for Bulgaria, the flag held aloft. Tina Georgieva inviting the silver and bronze medalist up to share the top spot on the podium with her. All smiles for the cameras. That really was a fantastic final. 3 worthy medalists. And of course in the youngsters, Schoenmeier and Georgieva, 2 very, very exciting prospects to keep an eye on in the future. Well, next up it is the men's pommel horse, our 3rd final of the day. The 8 finalists will soon be welcomed into the arena. Kazakhstan are well represented here. They have 2 gymnasts in this final. They will be led out by their first representative, Zinola Idrisov. Artadavtian will follow, a very familiar name on many start lists in finals, as is Nariman Kurbanov, the 2nd Kazakhstani athlete in this. And of course, Ravshan Kamiljanov rounds out the final. And here they come. Again, it's a lot of accomplished names on this start list. So it should be a high-quality pommel horse final indeed. The 2 Kazakhstani athletes actually were the top 2 in qualification. Of course, Kazakhstan already have 2 medals for their efforts today, gold and bronze on the men's floor. As you may have heard there from the stadium announcer, the first 4 athletes will start to warm up as ever. Then at the midway point we'll have a break and the next 4 will warm up. So Idrisov gets us underway for Kazakhstan. He is first to warm up. Artadavtian will be next, followed by Finland's Markus Pitarainen and Eduardo de Rosa. Those are the first 4 who will go. Mateo Zugic of Croatia next. Kilan van der Aar of Belgium. Nariman Kurbanov of Kazakhstan. And then we finish with Ravshan Kamiljanov. Well, in terms of what we're looking out for in this pommel horse final, it's a pretty easy one. Does the gymnast stay on the apparatus? It's almost a guarantee that some of them won't. Of course, there will be execution points deducted for that. We're also looking for the leg form. Are their legs glued together when they're supposed to be? Do they bend them at certain points to keep their swing going? We're looking for hips high above the horse as well. And then as well we are of course looking for the dismount. The all-important ending to a routine. If you have a well-executed routine, but don't stick the dismount, then it's pretty much all in vain. End of warm-up. Senala Idrisov of Kazakhstan, the 18-year-old, gets this competition underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Kazakhstan, Senala Idrisov.
He earned himself a bronze medal at the World Cup in Cairo earlier this year. Didn't reach the final in Cottbus at the World Cup. This is his first World Challenge Cup, and he has made it to the final. Given that he already has a medal to his name this year, he will be hopeful of another. Well, you can see the disappointment etched across his face. He finished second in qualification with a 14.850. This is worth a difficulty score of 6.3. The execution has suffered there, unfortunately. Well, once he got going again, he had good hip clearance off the top of the horse. It's often why we see the more shorter, more muscular guys struggling with this piece of apparatus. And he's got the right kind of physique to excel on the pommel horse. Armenia next up. Artur Davtyan needs no introduction. The Olympic rings emblazoned across his back. Idrisov well down on his qualification score. That was to be expected after he came off the horse. Davtyan now. 2021 European champion on pommel horse. European bronze medalist on this apparatus 2 years ago, or rather 1 year ago in Antalya. He's won European medals on vault, World Championship gold on vault. He's also hugely effective on pommel horse as well. Davtyan just so strong, maintained his form throughout. This is an absolutely exhausting apparatus. But he's showed absolutely no signs of succumbing to tiredness. The Olympic bronze medalist from 2020 on vault though. But certainly a very accomplished performer on the pommel horse as well. 31 years of age now, but showing absolutely no signs of slowing down. He was third in Varna last year on the pommel horse, and I'm sure he will be very hopeful indeed of collecting another medal. Davtian finished 5th in qualifying with a 14.1, and he's bettered that score, 14.266.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Finland,
Markus Petranen of Finland, the teenager who is transitioning from the junior levels up to the seniors. Eighth in qualifying with a 13.750. We've seen him competing at World Junior Championships, but he is a new face at this level, performing with real confidence. Showing some signs of tiredness there towards the end. The form starting to slip a bit. But once he found his rhythm in the mid part of the routine, he looked very good. He was perhaps a little bit untidy at the beginning stages, and then, of course, as you might expect, started to succumb to the tiredness towards the end. It is a wonderful experience, nevertheless, for the 18-year-old to have made the final here at the World Challenge Cup. And here's another name to look out for in the future. It's fantastic to see so many promising youngsters in Varna today, competing alongside the more experienced, accomplished athletes who no doubt provide a source of inspiration. Judges furiously jotting down scores.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Italy,
Slightly down on his qualification for the Finn. Nevertheless, as I said, an achievement just to reach this final. Eduardo De Rosa of Italy, third best in qualification with a 14.650. This routine has a difficulty rating of 6.4. Second hardest routine in this final, after Nariman Kurbanov, who qualified in first position. He's just so neat and tidy, isn't he? That form not faltering at all. Oh, what a shame. It's such a shame for Eduardo De Rosa, who looked so strong and so assured throughout that routine, just fell at the final hurdle. Shake of the head. Eduardo De Rosa bitterly disappointed with how his routine finished at 12.6. Such a shame for the Italian. Of course, the next four athletes will warm up before we resume this vault final. Matej Zugic of Croatia will get us back underway. Matej Zugic won silver last year in Varna on the pommel horse. Croatia actually had two finalists in that event. Matej Zugic was 6th in qualifying with a 13.850. Incidentally, that was the same score with which he won the silver last year, so clearly qualifying this year is a very high standard indeed. Matej Zugic in his third season as a senior. He's 22 years of age now. Pommel horse specialist with fond memories of competing in Varna. He said he really began last season with confidence and he knew he had to make a few podiums. That's half the battle, isn't it? Believing you can do it. Once you actually make a podium once, then it becomes easier because you know that you actually can make it up there. Nicely done indeed, and just look at the reaction from Zugic. He applauds the crowd. I suspect he's actually half applauding himself as well. 6th in qualifying. Eduardo de Rosa, who finished 3rd, who would have been a threat, no longer is one, having fallen on landing. At the minute it is Arta Davtyan with a 14.266 who leads the standings. Clearly hopeful of a big score here. See if the judges feel the same way. .3, he sneaks ahead of Arta Davtyan and into the lead. Well, it's close, but crucially, Zugic is now at the head of the standings. Belgium's Kylian van der Aar is next up. 7th in qualifying with a 13.8. This routine is worth 5.3 in terms of difficulty. Very clean routine indeed for the Belgian. High scoring final so far. He'll need more than a 13.6 if he is to make it onto the podium. .866. He is currently in 3rd place. Second Kazakhstani athlete to go on the pommel horse. Nariman Kurbanov. Well, if qualification is anything to go by, he is the man to beat. He scored a huge 15.650 in qualifying. He has the most difficult routine. Difficulty on this one is 6.7, and that was absolutely stunning. Look, he's moving through these elements so well, looking so comfortable. Kurbanov making this look absolutely effortless. Well, he is the pommel horse specialist. Bronze medal at the Asian Games last September on this apparatus. Two-time gold medalist on pommel horse from the Asian Championships. Has a skill named after him, the Kurbanov. And just look at the reaction. Big smiles, Kurbanov and his coach. Not quite time to celebrate just yet. .433, head and shoulders above the rest of the field.
Representing Uzbekistan,
Not quite what he achieved in qualification, but still better than the rest by quite some margin. Kamiljanov is our final athlete to go. Ravshan Kamiljanov of Uzbekistan. Fourth best in qualification. Another high score, 14.150. Difficulty of 5.7. Sticks the landing, and it's a high quality finish to this pommel horse final. Kurbanov leading the way with a huge score of 15.433. To get onto the podium, he will need to beat Artur Davtyan's score of 14.266. He's currently in that bronze medal spot. .633. It's another big score, and that is enough to get him into the silver medal position. He knocks Artur Davtyan off the podium. Very entertaining final indeed for the men's pommel horse. And a high scoring one at that. Proclamation then of the final rank in the men's pommel horse competition. Nariman Kurbanov with a huge performance to take gold with 15.433, quite some margin between him and Kamil Janov in silver. Mateo Zugic with a big performance to take the bronze, just edging out Arta Davtyan. Two more finals still to come in Varna. Next up, the women's bars. Clara Raposo of Canada is a late withdrawal through injury. She'll be replaced by the first reserve, Sara Silikic of Croatia. Then we round out the day with the rings final.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions on pommel horse.
Well, here come the medalists from the men's pommel horse final, led out by Mateo Zugic of Croatia. A surprise medalist in this final, given how the qualifications panned out, but he knew he'd done a good job. You could see the reaction as soon as he'd finished the routine. He was celebrating, he was looking towards the crowd, pumping his fists. Mateo Zugic with a 14.3 claims the bronze. He edges out Artur Davtyan by the finest of margins. Davtyan with a 14.266, agonizingly missing out on the podium. The silver medal goes to Uzbekistan. Ravshan Kamiljanov with a 14.633, but head and shoulders above the rest of Kazakhstan. It is Nariman Kurbanov with a huge score of 15.433.
First place awards, FIG President of Technical Committee, Artur Mickiewicz.
Първо място награждава Артур Мицкевич, президент на Техническия комитет на ФИГ за мъже.
Please rise up for the national anthem of Kazakhstan. Huge applause for the champions and marshals.
Well, it's been a very successful day so far for Kazakhstan. They've collected medals in the men's floor and the men's pommel horse. 2 golds so far and a bronze, so certainly the most successful nation of the day up to this point. They are not represented though in the next final, that is the women's uneven bars. We have had a late withdrawal from that one. There were 2 Canadians in that, but we are down to just the one now. Clara Raposo, unfortunately injured and can't make the final. She is replaced by Croatia's Sara Zulicic instead, who was the first reserve. It will be the French athlete Celia Serbe who gets us underway in this bars final. And that is how they line up. Well, I'm not sure we can read too much into the qualification results, given that they haven't translated to final results. But if we are looking at the qualification results, it's Elizabeth Seitz of Germany who was top qualifier. Clara Raposo, second best in qualification, but sadly no longer in this. Does that open up this final? Well, the French gymnast Celia Serbe leads the rest of the field out. She was sixth in qualifying. She already has a World Challenge Cup medal to her name, and incidentally that came in Varna. That was on this apparatus 2 years ago. Well, now that the athletes have been introduced to the judges and to the crowd, the first four will get warmed up. Will be Serbe, who takes her turn first. She trains at the INSEP Institute in Paris, which is the high performance centre for all French athletes. So of course there's gymnasts, there are runners, archers, you name the sport, they are all there training at INSEP in Paris, just on the outskirts there of the city. It's a really impressive facility. Well, in terms of how the finalists line up here, it was Elizabeth Seitz of Germany who got the highest qualification score. She also has the most difficult routine as well, with a 6.1, the only one to have a routine that is scoring in the sixes in terms of difficulty. We will have a brand new champion on this apparatus, Sofia Kovac of Hungary, who took the gold last year, is not in this final. In terms of what we're looking for in this apparatus, we're looking for a crisp and silky routine, something that flows through the elements with real fluidity. We don't want to see anything that looks laboured, we don't want to see any hesitations or stops, and we certainly don't want to see any falls. Flow and fluidity, that's the name of the game with the uneven bars. We want to see smooth combinations and transitions. And combining those tough elements will accumulate the extra points in terms of the difficulty. Well, Celia Serbe was selected as an alternate in the French team for the 2020 Summer Olympics. Just 20 years old at the moment. She was part of France's silver medal winning team at the Mediterranean Games in 2022. Certainly a useful all-rounder and one that is a good gymnast to have in a team competition. Originally from Dijon, but now, of course, trains in Paris with the rest of the French elite.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing France, Celia Serbe.
Oh, well, that is a shame. Certainly not the start that she would have wanted. Fortunately, though, she is back up on her feet, ready to resume, and is unscathed. Oh, well, it looked good up until that landing when she just fell forward, the momentum carrying her forward onto her knees, but she was doing ever so well after she got back on the apparatus. You could hear the frantic cries from the French contingent of allez, allez, and I don't know whether she was able to block that out or else draw on that, but French team certainly vocal in their support of their athlete. That is a disappointing start for Serbe. First the fall and then the botched landing. .1, that is a real shame for the French gymnast. 12.950 in qualifying. Those mistakes really cost her dearly. Zela Tritnik of Slovenia is next up. She got a 12.950 as well in qualifying, the exact same score as Serbe did. Difficulty of 4.8, so scored very well on the execution. Well, she stakes the landing, but there was that big mistake in the middle. transition between the low and high bar, not necessarily as slick as they could have been. It's just there where she grazed the mat with her legs and feet. Well, again, down significantly on her qualification score. Lost points in execution. Zelisateva Hubareva of Ukraine next up. Third best in qualifying with a 13.4. Second most difficult routine. This is worth a 5.6. Moving really well through the transitions. Oh, that was a really nice, clean, slick routine. You suspect that Hubareva will be top of the standings, although she is only the third of 3 to go. The two gymnasts before her with two quite big mistakes, and Hubareva cleanly, safely through that routine with real grace.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Romania, Apparatus.
Well, we'll have to wait a few moments longer for Hubareva's scores because we are on to the next. This is Andreea Preda of Romania. She was 7th in qualification with a 12.9, but remember, Celia Serbe and Zala Tritnik, the two gymnasts who finished ahead of her in qualifying, both penalised in terms of the execution, so there is a chance to move up through the field. Of course, as well, Clara Raposo not in this either. absolutely nailed the landing with the big dismount. Well, the difficulty is worth a 5.3, but you suspect that the execution score will be high. Well, we still haven't got confirmation yet of Hubereva's scores, but of course, as soon as that comes through, I will share that with you. Preda, in qualifying, scored a 12.9. I wonder whether she will have bettered that. Well, she's looking at the electronic board, I suspect, and has just been told to wait a little longer before she makes her move. 12.9, the exact same as she scored in qualification. Andrea Preda with two consistent performances on the bars. Take another look at Celia Serbe. Disappointing performance from the French athlete. Well, at the halfway stage, we're still awaiting confirmation of Hubereva's result, but it is Preda who leads with a 12.9. We still don't know what Hubereva has, though, so she may not be in the lead, the Romanian. Four more still to go, the midway point of this uneven bars final. Well, we can see the board in the background there. It says that Preda is second, which means that Hubereva has scored higher than a 12.9. We still don't have confirmation of that, but she currently leads, the Ukrainian. Well, Rose Wu was one of two Canadians in this, but now she is that country's sole representative. Her teammate became injured earlier.
Representing Canada.
She is a real standout on the national team for Canada. You can see there, she's another athlete with those Olympic rings tattooed onto her back. Seems almost to be a rite of passage, doesn't it? If you represent your country at an Olympic Games, you need to have something to show for it, some kind of memento to carry around with yourself. was a lovely, clean routine from Rose Wu, achieving excellent height in the air, really slick through the transitions. And certainly she looks to be the standout so far. And we don't know what the score is that she needs to beat, because we are awaiting confirmation of Hubereva's score, but you suspect that that routine will be enough to get Rose Wu to the top of the podium as things stand. She finished 4th in qualifying with a 13.3. Hubereva finished in qualifying with a 13.4, so those two very closely matched. Could be a battle between them for the top spot on the podium. It's still early days though, we have just reached the midway point of this final, but that pair certainly the standout so far. .366. Well, she's up on her qualification score, but we don't yet know whereabouts in the standing she is. It'll be first or second, but that is to be confirmed. This is Croatia's Sara Sulekic rather, my apologies, Sara Sulekic. First reserve replacing Clara Raposo of Canada. This routine is a 5.3 in terms of the difficulty. She actually scored the same as Barbara Makosova in qualifying, a 12.8, but her execution was slightly lower, which is why she was the reserve. Well, Sulekic told to sit down once again. She's obviously seen her score on the big screen. She's been made to wait a little longer. 13.233, an improvement from qualifying. She will be happy with that one. Elizabeth Seitz, the top qualifier, the German. Tokyo 2020 Olympian. She is likely to be named in her national team for the Paris Games, and this will be an opportunity for her to really impress the selectors. absolutely nails the landing. Huge smile across her face. Elizabeth Seitz delighted, rightly, with that performance. Huge smile as she greets the coach and leaves the field of play. Well, she'll be confident of being on that podium. She will need to score in the 13s to be up there. 14.1 is her qualifying score, big score. And she possesses by far the most difficult routine of any of these finalists with a 6.1 difficulty rating. I suspect that she'll be scoring highly on the execution as well. Neatly through the transitions. Well, it's a big score, 14.4. It's a big improvement on qualification as well. And Elizabeth Seitz is head and shoulders now above the rest. She is all but guaranteed that gold unless Barbara Markosova can pull off a miracle. Well, it would be a big ask, given that the Slovakian score in qualifying was a 12.8. Elizabeth Seitz, though, very much the standout performer so far. Nice clean landing for the Slovakian final performer on the bars this afternoon. one final remaining for today. Back to the men, and we will be ending with the still rings. Had 4 wonderful events so far. We'll be having the award ceremony very shortly for the last event, of course, the women's uneven bars. Elizabeth Seitz with a huge score to take the gold.
Дами и господа, всеки момент очаквам да започне церемонията на награждаване на смесена узборка, а след това последния финал за днешния ден на урeda Хокей. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champion on uneven bar.
Here come the medalists for the women's uneven bars. A high-scoring final. Of course, the highest qualifier, Elizabeth Seitz, was then able to replicate that performance when it really mattered in the final, taking gold and improving her qualification score of 14.1 and achieving a 14.4 in the final. Yelisaveta Ubareva of Ukraine with the silver, and Rose Wu of Canada picking up the bronze with a 13.366. Yelisaveta Ubareva with a 13.5 for silver, but there is absolutely no mistaking the champion. Elizabeth Seitz of Germany, almost a full point ahead of Ubareva with the silver. A 14.4, huge performance on the uneven bars that is bound to catch the eye of the German Olympic selectors.
Second place awards FIG technical delegate Elena Lario. And first place award, President of Local Organizing Committee, Olympic medalist and world champion, Jordan Dodger. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise up for the national anthem of Germany. Huge applause for the champions and march out.
It's almost time for our final event of the day, and you guessed it, it is the rings. Well, the athletes here will be judged on 3 elements: the swing, the strength and the hold. And the 8 best qualifiers will shortly be introduced to the crowd before they make their way up to the apparatus. That is the starting lineup for our final of the day. Yunus Kundugdu of Turkey will lead out the finalists. Of course, Oleg Varna of Ukraine, a very, very familiar face indeed in these rings finals. And here come the athletes.
Representing Turkey, Yunus Kundugdu. Representing Ukraine, Oleg Varna. Representing Armenia, Artur Thomason. Representing Belgium, Leon Dismay. Representing Uzbekistan, Akravan Timirano. Representing France, Paco Fernandez Enrique. Representing Armenia, Artur Avetisian. Representing Kazakhstan, Dmitry Badanin.
2-minute warm-up for the first 4 athletes.
Well, our last 8 finalists have been introduced to the judges and to the crowd. And as ever, we will begin with the first 4 warming up before we get underway. You can see there, Oleg Varna of Ukraine is first up to practice. Such a solid performer on this apparatus. Hugely experienced gymnast, the parallel bars Olympic champion from 2016. But also very handy across a number of different apparatus rather. Well, in terms of the qualification results for this final event, it was Armenia's Artur Avestian who finished the highest. He had the highest difficulty as well with a 5.9. He's got the most difficult routine of all of these finalists. And he scored a 14.7 in qualification, which is quite some margin ahead of Paco Fernandez Enriquez of France, who finished second in qualification with a 14.250. So a pretty high scoring qualification round. Artur Avestian of Armenia, he won the gold here on this apparatus last year, and he will be sure, I'm keen, to make it back to back. Plenty of competition though in this one. Dmitry Badanin of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan have picked up a number of medals already. Today they've got a couple of golds so far. Of course, Badanin holds one of them. He got the gold in the floor. He's now going to give it a go on the rings. Can he get a second medal? But first of all, it is Turkey's Yunus Kundugdu who gets us underway in our last event of the day, the men's rings. 7th best in qualifying, 13.7. Well, he sticks the landing. There were a couple of struggles for him. A couple of slight shakes, but a good dismount. This is the first time we've seen him competing at a World Cup or a World Challenge Cup since 2023. He only competed in vault there, and that was just the one event in Cottbus. I'm sure he is glad to be back on the circuit. 13.933.
Representing Ukraine, Varna.
Slightly up on qualification. Oleg Vernev of Ukraine, such an experienced athlete. 4th strongest in qualification with a 13.9, lower down on the difficulty score. This one's worth a 5. See the slight shaking there as he tries to hold the straddle shape, but the handstand is good. Slight hop back on the landing, but nevertheless it was a decent, solid performance for Vernev of Ukraine. He's won medals across so many different apparatus. Bars, vault, floor, rings of course. He has 2 bronze medals to his name on this apparatus from the Summer Universiades. Gwangju in 2015, Taipei in 2017. Qualified with a 13.9, and he betters that.
Representing Armenia, Artur Torgosyan.
Artur Tomavsian of Armenia, the 6th best in qualifying. Nice landing and a solid performance from the Armenian. You can see he was shaking a little during some of those elements. Generally held his form well. He's 31 years of age now, the Armenian. We've not seen him competing at a World Challenge Cup this year. This is the first one we've seen him at since Czech in Croatia last year. He made it through to the final of this apparatus, finishing 4th, just missing out on a podium place. Well, 13.766 puts him in 3rd of 3 at the moment. Belgium's Liam de Smet is next up. 5th in qualifying. He has one of the more difficult routines. This is worth a 5.6.
Representing Belgium, Liam de Smet.
De Smet of Belgium, not to be confused with a footballer of the same name. Years of age, originally from Jiangxi in China. Again, we last saw him competing at this level last year in Czech in Croatia, reached the final of the Still Rings, finishing 7th there. Slight wobble on the handstand, the body not entirely straight. You can see he's veering off to his right hand side a little there. Slight step back on landing for Liam de Smet, the 4th competitor so far in this final. Reached the midway stage of this rings final. It was Artur Avestian of Armenia who finished highest in qualifying. see him until the almost the end. He is the 7th athlete to go, so might it be a case of saving the best till almost last. Dmitry Patinin as well, he'll be one to look forward to. He goes last. That is enough to get Liam de Smet onto the podium as things stand. Slightly down on the score he achieved in qualifying though. Not too much of a difference. 13.8 versus 13.9, so he is nothing if not consistent.
Warm-up is over. Good luck.
Representing Uzbekistan, Apparatus.
Kirkonov of Uzbekistan was 3rd best in qualifying. He had one of the more difficult routines with a 5.4. See signs of struggle there, a bit of a shake, but nevertheless he is parallel to the ground and the handstand is well held as well. Just the slight step back on the landing, and that was pretty solid from Tem Kirkonov. .150 in qualifying, and that would be the highest score in this final. It's been a lower scoring final than qualifying, that's for sure. Saying that, we haven't seen Artur Avestian yet. Tem Kirkonov, though, was the 3rd best with a 14.15. So let's see what the judges make of this one when it really matters. .166. Edges slightly ahead of his qualification score. That puts him at the top of the podium as things stand. 3 more gymnasts still to go though. This is France's Paco Hernandez Enriquez, the Frenchman who finished second in qualifying. The big score of 14.250. This routine is also worth a 5.4 in terms of the difficulty.
Representing France, Paco Hernandez Enriquez.
Sit nicely held. Some slight movement on the handstand, however. French are competing, you can always hear them in the crowd with the cries of "Allez!" Their athletes are always very well supported no matter where they go. Scored a 14.250 in qualification. I'd be curious to see what the judges award him for his final efforts. There were times when he looked a little shaky on certain elements. 13.06, well down on the score he achieved in the qualification rounds. That puts him in last place. Artur of Armenia, the best in qualifying with a 14.7. He possesses the most difficult routine, a 5.9. And he is also last year's gold medalist. I'm sure he would like to go for the back-to-back. was a really solid performance indeed from the Armenian. And you'd imagine that he'd be very hopeful of topping the standings following that. One more gymnast to follow. But you suspect that Avestian has now set the standard, holding all of those elements perfectly still. His static strength hold is really quite something. His dismount as well was solid. Well, he looks relaxed, and a 14.5 propels him to the top of the standings. Arte Avestian is taking the gold as things stand, but there is still one gymnast remaining, none other than Dmitry Patinin of Kazakhstan. He already has a gold to his name today. He finished qualification in 8th place, however. Avestian will probably be thinking that that gold medal is safe. A solid landing. Dmitry Patinin rounds out the rings final. He scored a 13.6 in qualifying. His routine the lowest scoring in terms of difficulty with a 4.8. .633, pretty much the exact same score as he got in qualifying, so a consistent performance from Patinin. It is Arte Avestian, last year's gold medalist, who makes it back-to-back golds on the rings in Varna. Quite some margin ahead of the rest of the field. All three medalists scoring in the 14s. Avestian, Temkirkanov and Vernaev. Those are the three medalists for the rings final. And that concludes today's action. We will, of course, have the awards ceremony for this apparatus. We can congratulate these athletes on their wonderful achievement. It was a high-scoring qualifying round. Top three qualifiers all scoring in the 14s, and it was a high-scoring final as well. confirmation then of the results in the men's rings final. Artur Vestian, the clear victor. Fantastic day's action, and tomorrow promises much more as well. 5 more finals to come tomorrow at this World Challenge Cup in Varna. More high caliber athletes on display, as well as promising young hopefuls as well. Of course, because the Paris Olympic Games is just around the corner, these athletes are really hitting form at this time, so it's certainly worth tuning in to keep an eye out to see their progress. Get a sneak glimpse of them before they make their way to Paris in time for the Olympics in July.
Dalje do sutra, Arduňákovi nadejo na Valentinovi Kieva čátka, mohla da dokáže oficiálna masa. Повтарям, ако намерите изгубена раница, моля да внесете на официалната маса. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions on rings.
The medalists for the rings led out to the podium by Oleg Vaniev of Ukraine. Another medal to add to his extensive collection.
third place and bronze medal representing Ukraine, Oleg Varna.
Of course, anytime you see his name on the start list, you know that he will be a contender for one of the podium places. 14.066 was his score. Tim Kirkenov got a 14.166. That's how close it was between bronze and silver.
Representing Armenia,
Vestian, great show of sportsmanship, congratulates his fellow competitors, steps up to claim his gold. Gold in this event last year, gold again this year. 14.5.
Second place awards, FIG President of Technical Committee, Artur Mickiewicz. And first place awards, President of Local Organizing Committee, Olympic medalist and world champion, Varna. Please rise up for the national anthem of Armenia. Huge applause for the champions.
Congratulations to Artur Avestian, Oleg Verniev and Horokon Tim Kirkenov on their wonderful achievements. Three very good performances indeed on the rings to round out the day.
Дамы и господа, това бяха финалните изпълнения и финалното награждаване за течния трети състезателен ден. Утре ще наблюдаваме битката за финалите на земна гимнастика и кръга за жени и прескоко предстои силка за мъже. И нека отново силно аплодираме за завоюването на златен медал на престол нашето златно момиче Валентина Георгиева.
Many thanks for your company throughout the day. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us, and I do hope that you've enjoyed the action as much as I have. 5 wonderful finals, and we have 5 more to come tomorrow, so please do tune in for more World Cup action from Varna. Much more still to come. Some really exciting gymnasts again on display tomorrow, the more experienced ones as well as the up-and-comers. So please do join us again tomorrow.